That night was silent, no screams, no witnesses, no truth tellers. 2 dogs were set free, and a child died. Everyone knew who was responsible, but the town chose to look away. This isn't a story about killers, it's a story about silence. And silence is the deadliest weapon of all. I didn't hear the dogs barking. That's what still haunts me. In Briar Hollow, nothing ever happened quietly. The wind howled through the maple trees, screen doors slammed, dogs barked at shadows, but that night, the night everything broke apart, there was only silence. I was standing at my kitchen sink, hands submerged in warm, soapy water, staring out into the dark backyard. The clock above the stove read 9:47 p.m. My husband hadn't come home yet. The house felt too large, too hollow, like it was holding its breath. Then I saw him, Caleb Monroe. He stood under the flickering streetlight across from our house, gripping 2 leashes so tightly his knuckles looked bone-white. The dogs, both large, muscular mixes with cropped ears, pulled against him, restless, agitated. I recognized them immediately. Everyone in town did. They belonged to Ethan Monroe, Caleb's younger brother. Ethan liked to call them his babies. But those dogs were anything but gentle. They had bitten before. Mail carriers, a jogger, a kid on a bike. Complaints had been filed. Warnings had been given, and tonight, Caleb was cutting the leashes. I froze. The metal clip snapped open. 1 leash fell to the pavement, then the other. Caleb. I whispered, though he couldn't hear me. The dogs bolted. They disappeared into the darkness of the street, claws scraping against asphalt, bodies low and fast like predators released from a cage. Caleb stood there for a moment, breathing hard, eyes darting left and right. When he finally turned his head, our eyes met through the glass. I stepped back instinctively. He had seen me, his face drained of color. Panic flickered across his expression, but then something colder replaced it. A decision. He turned away and walked quickly down the street, hands shoved into his jacket pockets as if nothing had happened. I told myself there must be an explanation. I always did that back then. Made excuses for people in Briar Hollow. Small town logic. We all knew each other. We all protected each other, sometimes too much. I dried my hands and grabbed my coat. I don't know why I went outside. Feeling maybe a weight in my chest I couldn't ignore. The street was empty. The streetlight buzzed softly overhead. Somewhere far away, I thought I heard a sound, a sharp cry, but it vanished before I could place it. I stood there for a long time, heart pounding. Then the sirens came. They screamed through the night like something wounded, something furious. Red and blue lights tore through the darkness, bouncing off houses, trees, parked cars. My stomach dropped before I even knew why. I followed the sound. The crowd had already gathered by the time I reached the corner of Willow and Grant. Neighbors stood in clusters, whispering, hands over mouths. Police tape fluttered uselessly in the wind. I pushed forward until an officer stopped me. "Ma'am, you can't. What happened?" I asked. He hesitated. Then I saw the shoe. A tiny sneaker lay on its side near the curb, splattered dark with blood. Just one. The other was gone. A scream tore out of me before I could stop it. Someone grabbed my arm. "Claire, don't." It was Martha Keene, her face pale, eyes glossy. "It's a child," she whispered. "Oh God, it's a child." Later, we would learn his name was Noah Peterson. 6 years old, walking home from his friend's house. 2 blocks, that was all. The dogs found him first. They said the attack was fast, brutal, that by the time anyone heard anything, it was already over. By the time the ambulance arrived, there was nothing they could do. No witnesses, that's what the police said. No witnesses. I went home that night and sat in the dark, the image of Caleb's hands unclipping those leashes burning behind my eyes. I told myself to call the police. I picked up my phone 3 times and put it back down. Ethan Monroe was powerful in Briar Hollow, owned half the rental properties, sponsored the police fundraiser every year. His family had money, connections, and secrets. By morning, the story had already changed. The dogs were strays. Animal control claimed they had no confirmed owner. The Monroes said their dogs had gone missing days ago. Caleb told people he'd been home all night, and I said nothing until I saw the dogs again. 2 days later, I was driving past the old quarry road when I spotted a familiar shape behind the Monroe property fence. One of the dogs limped toward the shadows when it saw my car. It was still alive, still hidden. Someone was protecting them. That was when I realized something far worse than the attack itself. This wasn't an accident. It was abandonment. It was negligence. It was murder by silence. And the people responsible were doing everything they could to bury the truth. They thought no one had seen. They were wrong, because I had. And once you see something like that, once you carry the weight of a dead child and 2 unleashed monsters in your mind, there is no going back, only justice or blood. Town moved on faster than it should have. By the 3rd day after Noah Peterson's death, the flowers at the corner of Willow and Grant were already wilting. Balloons sagged against the stop sign. Someone had taped a hand-drawn picture of a smiling stick figure family to the pole. The words "We love you, Noah," written in blue marker. Love didn't save him. Silence killed him. I stood across the street from the memorial, pretending to scroll through my phone while watching the Monroe house. Ethan's pickup sat in the driveway, freshly washed. No black ribbon, no sign of mourning, just normal life. Continuing behind white curtains, that was how Briar Hollow worked. If you had enough money, tragedy became an inconvenience, something to clean up and explain away. The official story hit the local news that afternoon. Tragic dog attack, stray animals responsible, strays. I crushed the paper in my fist. I knew those dogs, everyone did. The brindle one had a torn left ear from a fight years ago. The black one dragged its back leg slightly when it ran. You don't mistake animals like that for strays. At the grocery store, people avoided my eyes. When they did speak, it was in half sentences and lowered voices. Terrible thing, Martha Keene murmured near the produce section. Just awful. Someone else said, already turning away. No one asked questions. No one wanted answers. That night, I heard a knock on my door. 3 slow raps. I didn't open it right away. I looked through the peephole first. Officer Daniel Ross. He stood with his hands clasped in front of him, posture casual, face carefully neutral. We'd gone to high school together. He'd dated my cousin for a while. I knew that look. It wasn't friendly. I opened the door anyway. "Claire," he said, "mind if I come in?" I did mind, but I stepped aside. He didn't sit. He walked slowly through my living room, eyes scanning shelves, pictures, corners, as if memorizing the space. "We're just checking in on neighbors," he said, making sure no one saw anything unusual the night of the attack. My pulse thudded in my ears. "No," I said, "I didn't." The lie tasted like rust. Ross nodded as if he already expected that answer. "Good, because we've had some speculation, rumors." Rumors about what? He looked at me then, really looked, about the Monroes. I forced myself not to react. People talk. I said, "They always do." "Exactly," Ross replied, "and talk can get ugly, especially when emotions are high. We don't want innocent people dragged through the mud." Innocent? I thought of Caleb's hands unclipping those leashes. Ross stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Ethan's dogs were reported stolen last week. We have a report on file." "That's funny," I said. I hadn't heard that. "Not everything makes the news." He paused at the door. "If you remember anything later, anything at all, call the station, otherwise. It's best to let this go. Let this go." After he left, I locked the door and slid down against it, shaking. They knew. They knew someone had seen something, and they were afraid it might be me. The next morning, I drove past the old quarry again. I told myself I was imagining things, that grief had sharpened my paranoia, but there it was, movement behind the Monroe fence, a flash of black fur, the sound of claws on gravel. I parked down the road and walked back on foot, heart pounding. The fence was taller than I remembered, new, recently reinforced. Someone had gone to a lot of trouble. I crouched and peered through a gap in the boards. The black dog lay in the shade of a shed, ribs rising and falling slowly. Its leg was bandaged, poorly. Dried blood stained the fur around its mouth. It lifted its head and growled softly, alive, hidden evidence with teeth. A door slammed somewhere behind me. "Claire?" I spun around. Caleb Monroe stood 10 feet away, eyes red, face unshaven. He looked thinner than before, hollowed out, like guilt had been eating him from the inside. "You shouldn't be here," he said. My mouth went dry. I could say the same. His jaw tightened. "You didn't see anything." I saw enough. He took a step closer. "You think you know what happened, but you don't. Those dogs, they were dangerous. Ethan tried to give them away. No shelters would take them. No one wanted them. So you let them loose." I snapped. "On a residential street." His eyes flicked away. That was answer enough. It was supposed to be temporary. He said, "Just for the night. I thought they'd run. I didn't think. You didn't think a child might be outside." Silence, then barely audible. I hear him in my sleep. For a moment I almost felt sorry for him. Almost, "You're going to prison." I said, "All of you." His expression hardened. "You don't understand how this works. Ethan's already handled it, by lying, by surviving." Caleb shot back. "You think the truth will bring that kid back? All it will do is destroy more lives." I thought of Noah's mother collapsing at the vigil. Some lives deserve to be destroyed. I said, "That night, I made a decision. I copied the footage from my old door camera. The one I'd forgotten about until then. It didn't show the attack. It didn't show Noah, but it showed Caleb, clear as day, cutting the leashes. I saved it to a flash drive and hid it inside a book on my shelf. Because once you choose to tell the truth in a town like Briar Hollow, you don't get to change your mind, and I knew, deep down, that the Monroes wouldn't stop at threats. They had already crossed one line. They wouldn't hesitate to cross another. The flash drive burned a hole in my conscience. Every time I passed the bookshelf, my eyes went to the blue Harvard Dictionary, third row from the top, where I had hidden it. I slept in fragments, waking to phantom sounds. Nails clicking on wood, a child screaming, a man whispering I didn't think into the dark. By the fifth night, Briar Hollow felt hostile. Cars slowed as they passed my house. A truck I didn't recognize idled across the street for nearly an hour before driving off without its headlights. Fear was no longer a feeling, it was a message. I decided to stop waiting. The police were compromised, that much was clear. So I did the one thing Ethan Monroe couldn't control. I went outside the town. I emailed the footage to Kara Mitchell, an investigative reporter in the city who'd once exposed a sheriff for falsifying evidence. I didn't include my name, just the subject line, "You lied about the dogs." She replied in under an hour, "Is this real? Do you have more?" I didn't answer right away. Instead, I drove to the quarry road one last time. The Monroe property was dark except for the shed. A single light glowed inside, buzzing like an insect. I parked far enough away that my car wouldn't be seen and walked the rest of the distance, phone recording in my pocket. The fence gate was unlocked. That was the first mistake. The second was the smell, blood and bleach, an unmistakable mix. My stomach lurched as I crept closer to the shed. Through a crack in the door, I saw Ethan Monroe standing over the black dog, a syringe in his hand. The animal whimpered, weak, barely able to lift its head. "What are you doing?" I said. My voice shattered the night. Ethan spun around. For a moment he looked startled, then annoyed, like I'd caught him stealing cable, not killing evidence. "You shouldn't be here," he said calmly. "That seems to be a family motto." He stepped outside, closing the door behind him. "You think you're some kind of hero. That kid was dead before anyone could help him. You let killers run loose. They were dogs." He snapped. Animals, unpredictable. The mistake was letting people get attached to the story. I felt something inside me harden. "You paid the vet," I said, to keep quiet. "You paid animal control. You paid the police." He smiled. "That's how systems work, Claire. You oil the parts that squeak." A growl came from behind the shed, low, weak, then another. My blood ran cold. Ethan's smile vanished. "That's not possible." The brindle dog staggered into the light, torn ear unmistakable, teeth bared. It collapsed a few feet away, breathing hard, but alive. "You missed one," I said. Before he could react, headlights flooded the property, police cars, but not Briar Hollows. County units spilled onto the gravel road, followed by a news van, cameras, shouting, commands barked into the night. Kara Mitchell stepped out of the van, eyes locked on Ethan. "Ethan Monroe," she said, microphone raised. "Care to explain why your missing dogs are here, along with sedatives matching the toxicology report of a dead child?" Ethan backed away, straight into handcuffs. Caleb broke the next morning. He confessed everything. How Ethan had ordered him to release the dogs to avoid another lawsuit. How they'd planned to call them strays. How Officer Ross had falsified reports in exchange for donations. The vet testified. Animal Control testified. The footage played on every screen in the state. The dogs were euthanized humanely. Noah Peterson's parents watched from the front row as the verdict was read. Guilty, multiple counts, negligent homicide, obstruction of justice, conspiracy. Ethan Monroe didn't look powerful in Prison Orange. He looked small. Briar Hollow changed after that. Not all at once, not completely, but enough. Officer Ross lost his badge. The police chief resigned. People stopped crossing the street to avoid me. Some even said thank you. At the new memorial, Noah's mother hugged me and whispered, "You gave us the truth." I didn't feel like a hero. I felt tired, but some nights, when the town is quiet, I stand by my window and listen. There are no dogs barking anymore. And for the first time since that night, the silence feels earned. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.